What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Realistic Summer Career Mode. This is episode number 9. We're starting today's stuff on the back of our win against Nottingham Forest. Nice little streak for Crystal Palace, just one defeat in our last 5 in all competitions. And as you can see, simulating through to our first game today on Boxing Day. The FA Cup third round gets drawn. We've got Barnsley, Championship side away at Oakwell. They're definitely fancying our chances, even though we are away from home. And for our first game of today's episode, Spurs away. This is going to be the halfway stage of the season after this game got played here, and Conte's side right now top of the table. And obviously I mentioned a few episodes ago how I believe this year that Spurs are going to win a major honour, and well, in the game they're doing the job. Let's see if it happens in real life as well, and I think a lot of that will depend on the fitness and the form of this guy. Yeah, their talisman up top, Harry Kane, scored the first of the game in this one, belting one in from 18 yards. What a strike from Kane. And real quickly on Harry Kane, I think I'll discuss him more in the future, but what do you think his legacy is going to look like? Because it seems, almost guaranteed if he does stay in the Premier League, he will break Alan Shearer's goal-scoring record. But if he ends up with no trophies, let's say hypothetically that he ends up with no trophies and finishes his career at Spurs, what will his legacy look like? What will his legacy look like? What will people remember Harry Kane for? A pure goal scorer, the best in Premier League history in terms of most goals ever in the Premier League. What would be his legacy though if he ends up trophyless and major honourless? No major honours. I don't know why I struggle to say that. No major honours. What will his legacy look like? I must say it would be a strange one, because, in terms of goal scorers in the Premier League, he would of course be regarded as one of the best, but we determine success nowadays so much, not necessarily, in team sport, not necessarily as much on individual accolades, but mainly trophies and competitions won with those clubs. And I guess that makes sense because football is, of course, a team sport. So would his legacy be slightly more diminished if he stays at Spurs, breaks Alan Shearer's Premier League record, but doesn't win a trophy? Or would it be more if he leaves the club, perhaps goes abroad, wins a major honour elsewhere, but doesn't break the record? So I don't know. It's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because obviously, Kane, Spurs icon, obviously, I think if he could win a major honour for Spurs, well, then he's killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Perfect. But again, it's a very interesting one, as thankfully Gallagher's injury here was just a 7-day one. It's a very interesting one because I feel as though, again, nowadays we put so much emphasis and onus on winning. You got to win a trophy, you got to be successful, and again, because football is a team sport, that does make a lot of sense to me as well. Now, I'll be guilty of this. I'm a nerd, as everyone knows, and I am fascinated by seeing what players have won, not individually, but in terms of trophies won. Ballon d'Ors, cool. Top scorers in a division, cool. Goal scoring record, clean sheet records, whatever, cool. But to me, I'm a massive, massive nerd. In the evenings, after the gym or whatever, I often do, look up footballers from past and think, oh, what did they win in their career? Especially players that have recently retired or they're now in the twilight of their careers, in the final year or two, and perhaps moving abroad, such as Gareth Bale to LAFC, for example, and I'll say, oh, what did those players win, and I'm like, oh, it's so cool. I love players that have won in multiple leagues in multiple countries as well, the likes of Arturo Vidal, for example. I find it so cool. So if you look at someone like Harry Kane, if you were to see the individual awards and, see all the incredible accolades he won individually, but no team trophies, I don't know what it would mean for most people. Obviously, again, it differs, I guess, person by person by what you define success as. But would Harry Kane be okay, spending the rest of his years at Spurs? Let's say hypothetically they don't win another major honour, or they don't win a major honour in Harry Kane's era, I should say. Even though I do believe, I've said it earlier and I'll say it again, I don't ask me why, I just do believe this year Spurs are going to win a major honour. But what would the legacy look like if he doesn't? That's the question. Break Alan Shearer's goal scoring record, but end up team trophyless, if you will. Let me know in the comment section down below, if you're in Harry Kane's shoes, what would you do? You know, obviously we saw last year trying to force a move to Manchester City. It did not pay off, but obviously with Spurs back in the Champions League under Antonio Conte, he wants to stay now. And again, I do believe Spurs are going to win a major honour this year. That would kill two birds with one stone for Harry Kane. But what would you do if you were still sceptical about Spurs' chance of winning a major honour, but you still had the chance to break the goal-scoring record? Very tough decision, isn't it? Even so, for the second game of today's episode here, on the back of the loss to the league leader Spurs right now, Fulham in a London derby at Selhurst Park, and oh my goodness, assist of the save, Wilfried Zaha. We talk about players that might end up trophyless in terms of major honours, and for Wilfried Zaha, this is the assist of the save, one of my best assists in FIFA 22. My goodness, that is absolutely unbelievable. The skills there, just incredible. Right, that was so cool. But even so, yeah, it's 3-0 Crystal Palace in this game. We got such a better record at home as well, and that's why when we lost to Spurs, I was like, nah, you know, the league leaders right now are away from home. We've only won twice away from home all season long. Nah, I don't mind losing that game, so I knew I'd have a much better chance of winning this one against a newly promoted Fulham side in another London derby, but this time at Selhurst Park. Our record at home this year is far superior to our away record, so I certainly fancy my chances. We got the job done. 4-0, 4 different goal scorers in the game. But it was really rack-sacky in this game around the show. And I mentioned in a recent episode, I really like the look of this kid. You know, I really do. He is so good. You know, seriously, as a youngster, you know those players that seem to play better than their starting overall suggests? He's 64 rated. He doesn't feel like it. He feels like a 74 rated player, man. He's so good. But halfway through the season, though, this is the table right now. Spurs are indeed top of the table. Good to see for me, for predicting Spurs are going to win a trophy this year. Liverpool, Chelsea and West Ham are in the top 4. Everton are in 5th and the Red Devils are in 6th. Right now, though, Man City and Arsenal both struggling in 9th and 13th respectively. We are in 11th. 8 wins in 20, but 9 defeats on the board as well. 31 goals scored is impressive. 35 goals conceded is not. But 27 points right now means we're 11 points clear of Fulham, who we just beat in our previous games. So 18 games to go. Double-digit gap on the bottom 3 right now, and several teams currently below us. Brentford way off the pace to start the season off here. I definitely do feel as though we're going to be okay. Touch wood, fingers crossed. You know, my main aim this season was very simple, mid-table. That's exactly where we are right now. Look, if we can break into the top 10, that'll be fantastic. And that would be an amazing achievement. And, you know, I'd take that every day of the week. The dream was to sneak into 7th. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen now. It still could. I mean, it still could. If we get a good run of form going around January, February time, there's always a chance. But to me, I just want to have a chance. Just a chance of finishing in the top 10. And right now we're in 11th. So it's exactly where we are. And I'm okay with where we are right now. If the season ended, you know, right now, I'd be okay. 11th place, totally fine with me. Realistic, that's the most important thing, obviously, for our first season at Selhurst Park. And well clear of the drop zone. That would do me just fine mid-table in Season 1. That was my aim at the start of the season. That's where we are right now. And we still got that shot of finishing in the top 10 as well. Still, for the third and final game of today's episode here, West Ham, another London derby, once again taking on David Moyes' side here, but still at Selhurst Park. First game of 2022, of course, in the save here. Taking on David Moyes' side. Last year, of course, West Ham, great season, despite the fact that he did come up short towards the end of the campaign for West Ham last year. Even as a Millwall fan, I can admit it, great season for them. Europa League semi-finalists, only losing to Eintracht Frankfurt. As I always say, there is no shame in getting knocked out at any stage of a competition. If the team that knocked you out end up winning the whole thing, there's no shame in that. So West Ham losing to Frankfurt over the 2 legs in the Europa League semi-final. Declan Rice had a lot to say about that, of course. You know, and obviously at the end of the season, on the final day, their defeat, was it Brighton on the final day? I think it was. Obviously saw them drop into 7th place, which means that for next season and the upcoming season they'll be playing Europa Conference League football and not Europa League football. But still a good season for West Ham, all things considered. Back-to-back years now playing European football. They had the drama with Kurt Zouma to deal with mid-season as well. A lot of people would say they called that wrong. Obviously that's you know, that's obviously a personal thing that I don't think really anyone can criticise David Moyes too heavily for that, because it was a really unprecedented situation to be in. But even so, they did have a good season last year, despite the antics they had to deal with Kurt Zouma midway through the season. Back-to-back European seasons for them as well, and I'm excited to see how West Ham get on for next season as well. It should be really, really interesting indeed to see whether they can build on back-to-back European seasons. And don't forget, last season there was a chance for a while they could finish in the top 4. Anyway, we took them on here in a London derby, first game of January here, and as the window has now opened, you would have seen our budget. We do have a few million to spend, but I don't think we're going to do anything with it, if I'm being totally honest. I'm fine with the team right now. We're doing all right. We've stopped the rot in terms of poor form. Right now, we're in an okay run of form. It's not great, but it's not bad either. We're doing all right at the moment, and we're in mid-table, so I'm not sure I'm going to do anything in this January window. I might possibly sell a senior player who I'm not using much. I might sign a young player for the squad, but I don't expect a major change this January window because A, it's not realistic, and B, I don't need to. We're doing all right now. So yeah, taking on West Ham, took the lead through kickoff. 2 kickoff goals in 2 games. I love it. I love kickoff goals, man. So cool. Edouard made it 1-0, but Nikola Vlasic would level it for the Hammers there. That camera celebration. I love the camera celebrations. I think they look really, really cool, but that one has got to be the cheekiest of all time. The way they just turn the camera on the fans, especially if you're away from home, that is just brutal, isn't it? But even so, whilst Vlasic would put West Ham back on level terms, Edouard scored his second of the game to make it 2-1 and restore our lead. We're in front the second time in the game, and late on in the game, West Ham pushing, pressing, looking for a late leveller. We come on the break, Conor Gallagher leading the charge, rolls it through to Abrechize, off to Odson Edouard. His shot saved. Oh, how about this for composure? Yes, check Doucouré. First goal since we signed him in the summer. Didn't bring him in to score goals, brought him in to be my anchor man. He's done a decent job of that, but this is as cool as it gets. Yeah, shot well saved on Edouard. Drops back to our holding mid. Great first touch to set himself, and with a weaker left foot, when you talk about finding the gap, oh, did you see the 2 West Ham players collide there? It drops underneath the bar, just out of the reach of the Polish veteran Lukas Fabianski. That's not a bad way to score your first goal for the club. I love that goal, man. It looks so cool. I was so excited to show you. But yeah, Doucouré wraps it up. That's the dagger. That would do it. Final score, Palace 3, West Ham 1. Another big win, back-to-back, and our decent run of form with Crystal Palace continues. Back-to-back wins in London derbies will certainly take it. If only we could win more games away from home, we'd be comfortably in the top 10 right now, and possibly in a European place. As it stands, Selhurst Park remains our fortress. We continue to play much, much, much better at home, and that's why right now, whilst we're still not in the top half of the table yet, we're only just outside of it. Yeah, at the moment, 17 games to go, mid-table, and well clear of the drop zone. January is here, but I don't feel the need to make changes. There's still an outside shot of European football and a top 10 place, and we're well clear at the bottom 3. But that will end today's episode of the Realistic Summer Career, guys. Big thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you haven't, like. Most love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of the Realistic Summer Career Mode very soon.